Okay, I think that we are good to go. Thank you, everyone, for bearing with us. Um, all right. Some minor technical difficulties because I haven't presented it before. So Jen is helping me out. But I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. We appreciate your time and your patience. We are going to talk about a lot of things tonight, and we hope that you
I can't
find
hear anything.
um, that helpful. If you could make sure that you're muted, that would be great. I think there's maybe one or two of you that still need to mute. Um, so tonight we're going to be recording the slideshow presentation. In case you have any questions about anything, you can come back and refer to this. We will be sharing this out via Parent Square in the next couple of days, along with some links to the slideshow and also to our course presentation book. And also, you may have seen it in the chat. If you're on a computer, it's a little bit easier to see. But if you have questions throughout this presentation, we will be monitoring the chat, whichever one of us is not talking, and we'll get back to you with answers to your questions. We will also have time at the end that we will just leave open if anyone wants to stay and ask questions. We're happy to help you through this process. So, with that being said, we can move on to the next slide. This is our counselor information. There's 4 of us at the high school and our registrar. Our letter grade breakdown. So we break up grade levels by alphabet. So I'm Christy Williams. I'm at the end of the alphabet with letters R-O to Z. So I'll have your students from when they start freshman year all the way through senior year in that part of the alphabet. And then at the bottom is our registrar, Debbie Smith. She helps us with a lot of different things in our office as well. So a few scheduling notes, and we'll remind you of some of these at the end as well. But like I said earlier, on Friday, we'll be meeting with your students at the middle school. So please make sure that they have their paper copy of their scheduling sheet with them. That will help us help them to get those course requests loaded into the PowerSchool system online. And then linked on here is our course description book. That can be really helpful as you're planning different courses and your student might want to know more about like what topics the course might cover. There's a nice 1 or 2 sentence descriptive paragraph about each course in this course description book. So, and then finally, the deadline to make any schedule changes, because we know that those happen and that's okay. We just ask that you let us know that before the last day of school, and emailing us or calling us would be the best way to make those changes. The middle school counselors can't make those changes for your student. So one of the first things that I'll be talking about tonight is graduation pathways. So this includes courses and this includes different diploma types that we'll get into, but it also includes other steps that your student will take throughout their 4 years of high school to graduate successfully, on time, meeting all of the Indiana diploma requirements for graduation. You can see in the nice little graphic what I'll be talking about first will be everything in box 1. When we talk with students, whether it's at large grade level convocations or meetings during coach, or whether it's in our one-on-one scheduling meetings, we always refer to these requirements as boxes just because it's simple for us to explain it that way. So students understand that by the time they graduate from high school, they should complete something in every box that's required. So first, let's talk about the different diplomas, and then we'll move on to the other 2 boxes as we go throughout the evening. So for the class of 2028, there are 4 different types of diplomas. There's the general, the core 40, the academic honors, and the technical honors diplomas. Most students end up graduating with the core 40 diploma, whereas another larger amount still do graduate with the academic honors. And then a few who go to C9 will graduate with the technical honors diploma by the time that they graduate. We usually reserve the general diploma for students who struggle in math, and so that really doesn't even become a conversation with your student unless necessary late in high school. And like I mentioned before with the graphic on the last page, there's also a box that's called employability skills. This is where we have, you may have heard about it before, either from older students, but there's a required senior project that they complete during their senior year of high school. This is like a service-based project. It's a 20-hour project. It's very well laid out. The process is very clear and very simple. We don't talk about it a lot until they get ready for senior year, just because they can't work ahead to complete this project. They can't do things ahead of time until they're in the semester where our senior project teacher oversees that entire process with them. And then finally, the third box, number 3 listed, the post-secondary competency. This tends to be the most confusing of all the boxes because there are a lot of different options on how students can meet this requirement. You can see some of them listed below. These are not options that your freshmen will worry about. These are just things that we want you to hear and see for maybe the first time, because as they go throughout high school, we have many more conversations about these, particularly heading into junior and senior years of high school. There is one note at the bottom of this, though, that really does apply to freshman year. A way to kind of get a jump start on this requirement is either taking a world language or taking a principles class in their schedule. When we get to the list of freshman elective classes, you'll understand what I mean by principles class because that word will be in the title of those courses. But that would be a helpful way to help them get a jump start on meeting this box 3 requirement. So we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about the different diploma types. We're going to really hit on the Core 40 diploma and also the Academic Honors Diploma, just because those are the 2 diplomas that most of our students graduate from Franklin with. As we go throughout high school, each counselor on their caseload keeps a checklist of all of the requirements for your particular student, making sure that they stay on track, that they're taking the courses that they should be taking to meet their diploma requirements, and that if anything doesn't go according to plan, then we catch it in time to begin the next school year, and we get them back on track at that point in time. So you can see on the screen some of the different credit requirements within the Core 40 diploma. They're pretty standard across all of these different categories. For English, there are 8 credits required. That means English every year in high school. For the Core 40, there's 6 credits of math. So in their 4 years of high school, they need to take 3 years of math. There are some options. Those are listed below. Really, most students go the Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2 route. However, if your student struggles a lot in math, then we can have that discussion on switching to, it's called Integrated Math 1, 2, and 3. For science, there's also 6 credits required, so that means 3 years of science throughout high school. All incoming freshmen will take biology. And then at some other point throughout high school, at their choosing and at our recommendations, they'll either take 2 credits in chemistry or physics or our integrated chemistry physics class. And then 2 credits of any other science class that we offer. We offer several. We'll go more in depth about that later on too. Then within the social studies department, it is the same as math and science. 3 years are needed, so 6 credits total within social studies. You can see the breakdown below. Geography might be a class that your incoming freshman would take next year. And then I'll also talk about PE. There's always questions about PE. We'll talk a little bit more in depth about that later as well. But for right now, you need 2 credits of PE. So luckily, your student should finish that by the end of their freshman year of high school. And then if they want to continue in weights or an elective PE, they can, but they aren't required to beyond their freshman year. There's also a required health credit. A lot of students do that over the summer or heading into high school. And then overall, just to hit the 40 credits, that would mean 11 elective credits in any other category and any other classes that they would like to take throughout their 4 years.
My name's Brian Powers, and I'm the counselor of students' last names E through K. And I'm going to kind of talk about some of the other diploma types that your students could get. So the first one is the academic honors diploma, and that requires 7 additional credits. So the 40 is the core 40. And then if you want the academic honors diploma, that would be 47 credits. So 7 more throughout the course of their high school career. It's the same core 40 requirements, but then there's some additions to it. So you have to have 2 additional math credits. So it's 8 math credits total, whether that's we have some pre-cal classes that a lot of colleges do require some pre-cal classes to be admitted into college. So they would need to do the additional math credits. Additionally, they would have to do 6 credits of world language in one language. So we offer Spanish, we offer French, and we offer Japanese. So if they just took 3 years of that, then they would be good. Or you can take 2 years of 2 different foreign languages. So they could potentially be done after their junior year if they start their freshman year. With that, we do have dual credits, so high school and college credits for Spanish as well, and that's something that they could look into. And then 2 fine arts credits from music, family and consumer science, or art courses. They would just need to get 2 of those, so 2 semesters of it, because you get 1 credit per semester. Also, they would have to do one of the following, as you can see there, the bullet points: 2 AP courses with exams. AP courses are a little bit more challenging college level type courses. And then at the end, they take an exam. And if you get a certain score or higher on the exam, then you get college credits as well. So they would need to take either 2 of those or 6 college credits from dual courses with the high school and college credits. And most of those are through IU. We do have a few that are through Ivy Tech, but most of our college courses, dual credit courses, are through Indiana University. So they average about 3 per semester for the most part. And then, or you could take 1 AP course and 3 college credits from dual credit courses. So kind of mix and match in those as well. A lot of times students won't really start getting into those until their sophomore year a little bit, but then really can start hitting it hard their junior and senior years. So that's something just to keep in mind as we go ahead. And then additionally, there's no grade lower than a C- in the required areas. Now, obviously, if a student gets a grade below that in certain classes, some classes it won't discount them from getting that, and others we can. There are things you can do to get those credits back. So just if they get a D plus or D, or even I guess fail a class, it doesn't automatically disqualify them from getting the honors diploma. But there are things we can do. So it certainly doesn't help, but it just may require a little bit more work further down the road. And then you have to have a 3.0 grade point average by the end of the senior year. So if you do get the D's or even an F, then that will lower the GPA, and that will play a big role in it. So something to keep in mind. So that is the academic honors diploma in addition to just the core 40. The technical honors diploma is also 47 credits. And this diploma is just 6 credits in a usually C9 course. So a lot of students who go to Central 9, this is they get the technical honors diploma, or this is how we get those students who get the honors diploma. They also have to get an industry-based certificate or credential, and that's from C9. Almost all of the C9 programs offer that and dual credit courses. So if they're at C9, most of their courses are through Ivy Tech. Some of them are through Vincennes, but they also offer dual credit courses, so high school and college credit as well. And then one of the following, they meet the honors diploma requirements. They earn a minimum score on AccuPlacer test, which is something that Central 9 gives, and they'll take that near the end of the year. Usually it's about in April, and we can just kind of look through and see if that's something that they need to take. And then no grade lower than a C- in the required areas, and a 3.0 grade point average by the end of the senior year. So that's for the technical honors diploma. You can get, we have several students who get the academic honors and technical honors, and students who get the core 40 or the technical honors diploma as well. So it's just the credits, the 47 credits are on there as well. So that's an additional diploma that they would be able to earn. And then just an example of the schedule freshman year. Be algebra for most students. Some students may be taking algebra right now, or geometry in the past, and so they could be moved on to a different math class. But it's going to be basically math, English, and biology for everyone, and then take a PE course. Just it's good to get it out of the way your freshman year, so you can take other elective courses throughout your time in high school. And then, like we talked about, a world language or principles class, and a band, a choir, you've got an elective opportunity, and then you could potentially take a study hall or another elective. So that would be, if you see this schedule example is 12 credits total. You could get 14 just in taking 7 different classes with no study hall. And if just quick math, that's 12 credits, and 12 credits per year times 4 years is 48 credits. So there's some room for error and taking a study hall and still getting the academic honors diploma, or just your general core 40 diploma. So if you fail a required course, though, you do have to take it over. And that's something we try and tell the students when we get into the scheduling portion of it, is that, you're in math, you're in English and science. And if you fail that, you've got to take it again. And for the math class, you can't move on to the next math class until you pass that algebra or integrated math 1 class. Sometimes with English, we can move on to English 10, but we still have to be taking English 9. So the more classes you fail, that kind of builds up, and you get less electives and less classes that you're like, oh yeah, I want to take that class. And you're kind of pigeonholed into a schedule full of just straight core classes, which sometimes students don't find that enjoyable. And then the PE credits. There are 3 possible options for earning the 2 PE credits they have. There's just the standard PE 1 and PE 2. That's first semester and second semester. There's also PE weights. And in order to be in the weights your freshman year, you have to participate in an FCHS sport in order to get into that class. So that is the freshman requirement for that course. Now, if your student isn't in a sport or activity, and they do want to do the weights, they have to take PE first, and then you can go on and take the weights. That's fine. But if they're not in a sport, then they have to take PE first. And then last is summer school PE. So we have 1 credit per summer offered, and that is a class offered over the summer. They have to come in. They'll come in, and it's like 3 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks where they would come in and take a PE course. But you get it out of the way over the summer. It's instead of taking it for a full semester, you just take it for that allotted time. So some students do find that easier. And if you're going to kind of wait for PE, then you got to get it done by your junior year, because if you're senior year and you still don't have it, we've got to put you in that class. And some students find themselves as seniors in freshman PE. So it's a little bit of a conundrum that they face their senior year. So like we said, the PE 1 and PE 2, you don't have to be in a sport. You can just go ahead and sign up for a PE class. For weights, you take 1 or 2 semesters of weights. You have to be in a sport or activity for weights to meet the PE standard. It's a state standard, so it's not something that the high school made. It's the state standard. So, and then for the summer PE, you can earn 1 credit over the summer at a time, and it's in person here at the high school in June for 3 weeks. So you can take it this summer, and then you can take it next summer, and you get those credits out of the way if that's something your student wants to do.
I apologize. My camera, I don't think, is working for whatever reason. So I am Jennifer Rodman. I'm behind the screen. I have last names L through R-I. So I split the R's with Mrs. Williams, who talked first. And I'm just going to go over a couple of things with the freshman elective options. So as we went over potential schedules, most freshmen have a couple of rooms for electives. They can pick 1 or 2, usually maybe 3 sometimes. So we have a lot of different options, and those will keep growing as they get older and take less required classes and have more options. So we have a few different areas, and hopefully they're interested in one of them. So one of the areas is agriculture. So we have a lot of agriculture classes later on. If they are interested in those, like we have an animal science class, a plant and soil science, some ag machinery. But if they're interested in that, they must take principles of agriculture first. So as we mentioned earlier, we're encouraging students to either sign up for a world language or a principles class. And this is one example of that. We have a lot of different art classes. Really, it's kind of all over the place. So we hope to catch anyone's interest in different types of art. If you're interested in a lot of the more on paper art, Intro to 2D is a great first stop. And you must take that before you could take either drawing or painting. We do have some 3D art. They handle more of the physical art, not necessarily on paper. We do have some photography classes. They have to have a physical camera, not necessarily an iPhone. Digital design, game design is more on the computers, and then visual communications 1 and 2 is a lot more on the computer as well, looking at kind of a marketing type of art. In the business world, we have 2 different areas that freshmen can take. We have Principles of Business Management, another one of those principles classes, and then a computer science class looking more at coding and all of the technical side of computer. We have Family and Consumer Science Department, which has quite a few different options. Each of those typically are 1 semester options. So a lot of these are 1 semester, some of them are 2 semester. We have child development, nutrition and wellness is a cooking class looking at different food groups and cooking, principles of fashion, looking at more sewing and styles of clothing. And then intro to housing and interior design is somewhat more in the architecture and how to design houses and buildings well. Some other areas of electives, we have a broadcasting department. There is more of those along the way. So the first year is principles of broadcasting. That's more podcasts and filming, the technical side of all things on TV and podcasts. We do have a couple of non-choir and band music electives, and we'll get to the choir and band here in a second. But if your student is not interested necessarily in taking choir or band, but they do have an interest in music, they can take a piano class and learn a little bit about that, or music history. We included some social studies because technically as a freshman, social studies can be an elective course. So a lot of freshmen take geography and history of the world as one of their electives. We do have a few freshmen who are more interested in social studies. So in order to take world history as a freshman, they would need a B or higher in both social studies and language arts in the 8th grade. They can also wait to take that until sophomore year if they want to as well. And then a couple of other 1 semester ethnic studies is online, and Indiana studies. If your student is really interested in medical career, all students will take biology as a freshman, but they can also take 2 science classes at once and add in biomedical science. We really encourage students, if they're pretty strong in science or have a really strong interest in medical career in the future, that they could take that as a freshman. There are 4 years of that PLTW biomedical science route, but students can always take that as a sophomore and still get all 4 years. It would just require adding in a second science later on down the road, but that is one option. They look at kind of the mystery of how someone died, and so they go through more of a project-based science class. We have a couple of tech ed classes looking at if you're interested in engineering. As a freshman, the way to take that is you have to have completed Algebra 1. So as soon as you have completed Algebra 1, they can take that engineering to see if that's something of interest. We also have a couple more hands-on construction and manufacturing classes. And then there's those world language electives. We have 3 different options: French, Spanish, and Japanese. They recommend that if you have a B- or higher, that you can take it as a freshman. It's just a recommendation of what they've seen greater success as a freshman, but everyone is welcome to take a world language. Some colleges require at least 2 years of a world language, so that's something to keep in mind. And then the honors diploma requires at least 3 years of a world language. And then we get this question a lot about study hall. So students can take study hall 1 or 2 semesters. It's up to them. You get no credits for it, but it is built in study time in their schedule. So as we mentioned before, a student could take a study hall every semester and they would be just fine to graduate on time. So back to that band and choir conversation. So a lot of students may already be in band. I know that choir and band do a lot of figuring out kind of placements a little bit later. So when we meet with students on Friday, they may have a good idea of where they would like to go with band. But we do have a couple of different areas if they're in band or percussion, or if they want to be in jazz band, then they will put that on their schedule. That dance choreography is color guard, so it's not as much. I get questions a lot about if it's a dance class. It is in order to be in that class, they have to participate in color guard. It's both, all those band classes and choir classes are a full year commitment. So if they're choosing that, they should put it on both semesters. And then if there's any changes to which band that they are in, Mr. Kosh and Mr. Hammond Wood will let us know about that later. For choir, there's quite a few different choirs. A lot of students start out in those beginning choirs, and then some of them either add on or switch to those intermediate or advanced choirs. Mrs. Day and Mr. Hughes, I know, hold tryouts and will let us know. They'll send us a list. So we'll have most students pick one of those beginning choirs, or potentially 2. Students can opt to take 2 choirs if they want to and so choose to do that. So they can have 2 of those in their schedule, but we'll make sure that they are placed accordingly once those auditions have been held and we've been given the list. A few other things that maybe isn't as applicable to freshman year, but is later down the road that students can choose to take are, we've mentioned them a little bit, are AP classes. Those are advanced placement classes. They're typically more college type of classes, so they're a little bit more advanced. They go at a faster pace, but we do have quite a few options. We're moving more towards dual credit, but we do still have quite a few different AP. The way to get college credit in any of those is to take the exam at the end of the year and score potentially a 3, 4, or 5. It's out of 5, so students can score anywhere from 1 to 5 on those exams. And in order to get that college credit, they would have to take and score that on the exam. But we do have all of those listed there in quite a few different areas. Another option, which it may be a little hard to see, is we've actually moved towards Advanced College Project, or ACP. This is through IU. So IU has partnered with us on a lot of classes to offer dual credit, meaning they can earn high school credit and college credit. This is a little bit different than AP because, like I mentioned, AP has those exams that require you to pass the exams, whereas ACP classes only require that you register. As long as you meet the qualifications to take the class, which is typically a GPA of 3.0 or above, then you can sign up for these classes. And as long as they register, then if they earn a C- or better, then they are awarded the high school and the college credit. So those are all through IU. We've got quite a few different ones in English, math, social studies, science, and a couple in Spanish and business. We also have a few different classes that are Ivy Tech dual credit. So same concept as the IU, but it's just awarded through Ivy Tech. As long as they register at the beginning of the year with these classes through Ivy Tech and earn a C- or better, they'll be awarded these dual credits, these college credits. So those are some really great, the ACP and Ivy Tech classes are great ways to get some college credits before they leave high school. We've had a lot of students that it has helped them in college either take a lighter load or help them explore different options while in college, and give them the time to do that and save them a little bit of money while they do. So we have a lot of different college classes, and we'll work with your student on which ones are a good fit, which ones we recommend. But they most likely won't take many of those, if any, until sophomore or junior year. But if you have any questions, let us know.
Okay, I am Mrs. Murphy, and I work with students last names A through D. And this is Ellie. She is in pre-K and apparently needs to hear all this information at the moment. So I wanted to cover just a couple other options. Central 9, which a lot of people are familiar with, but it is our local career center. It is not available until your senior year, which I know seems pretty far away, but it does come up pretty quick because by the time we meet with them as freshmen, there are certain classes we have to put in their schedule for sophomore year to make sure they are on track to go. The reason we have to do that is they spend over half the day at C9, so they only have room at Franklin for about 3 classes each semester, both junior and senior year. So we just want to make sure they have a majority of their required courses complete by the time they're done their sophomore year. So we kind of like to start talking about it now. And as we mentioned before, for the grad pathways for that box 3 that has multiple options, one of them is the technical honors, which does require going to C9. And then also some of these programs complete something called CTE concentrator. So C9 not only gives students hands-on experience, especially if maybe there are programs we don't have at the high school, but it gives them dual credit, it gives them certification, hands-on experience, and multiple ways to kind of meet that graduation pathways. So here we just added a list of the classes they offer. It's a very long list, but C9 just has so much to offer. So we did add the link. So if you want to go to each program and kind of find out some more information, find out about the dual credits, but it is definitely an opportunity for a lot of these students that know this is something they want to go into and they can start it before graduating high school. So we just like to kind of put it out there because it will come up quicker than you expect, just because you have to prepare for it between freshman and sophomore year. And then we're just going to kind of wrap things up a little bit, just some scheduling reminders. So as we mentioned before, we're going to be at the middle school on Friday, and Miss Anderson met with all the students and had them fill out their schedule on a paper copy. And we're going to try something a little different this year and have all the students enter their classes online on their Chromebook. And so they will have 14 total requests. So 7 each semester. And then while they're kind of working on those scheduling sheets that they brought home, just reminder, any class that is AB kind of tells you it's all year. And then anything that doesn't have AB is a 1 semester class and can go either semester. The course description book is included. The nice thing about it, and they may have already mentioned this, but that the course descriptions, most of them are written by the teachers. So instead of, that boring description that you find on the DOE, it's written by the teacher. So kind of just to summarize what they will learn in the class. Again, we will be there on this Friday, and hopefully all of your students have brought home the form. There is a parent signature, so this way we know that parents have been able to review the schedule and they've seen it and they agree with it. So ideally, all students will bring it on Friday signed and ready to go. And then, as we mentioned before, once schedules are submitted on Friday, if students need to make changes, it's easier just to email us instead of the middle school counselor, because they won't really have access to it. But they can also, make changes all the way through the last day of school. So if I know it's kind of hard, there's a lot of information and they may change your mind a couple times. So we give them plenty of time to do that. And then we did want to include the band and choir contacts just because, they tend to get a lot of questions just to find out more information about the different bands and different choirs. And then we have our athletic department as well, just if you have any questions about that. And then the guidance phone number for the middle school and both the high school. So if you do need to reach out to Miss Anderson or to the high school, you're more than welcome to do that. And then the freshman kickoff is July 31st this year. It is from 8 to 12. It's not it's not an open house, meaning like just come anytime between that. All students should be dropped off by 8 o'clock in the morning, and they'll be picked up around noon, but they'll get their schedule. They get broken up into groups. They get to walk around, find their classes, and they'll have mentors that are upperclassmen, so they can ask them questions, find the ins and outs. It's just students, no parents, just so they can kind of, get a feel for what the high school is going to be like. So most of our freshmen do come. We have a very good turnout rate for that. So I would go ahead and plan to be there and put it on your schedules, your calendars, I mean. And then we did add, we used to, when this was in person, have a course fair where you could walk around, talk to the different electives, and kind of get more information. So because this is now virtual, we just made everything on one PowerPoint slide. So it has all the different electives and descriptions and everything that you could possibly need. So if you're just not sure exactly what we have at Franklin or just need more information about what the class is, we definitely recommend clicking on that. It also should have a lot of our clubs as well. Is that our final slide?
Yes, that is the end of the PowerPoint.
Okay. So I know it's kind of a lot. Again, Miss Anderson did go and meet with the students, kind of go over this, and then we will be there on Friday. It's overwhelming. We get that. So we expect questions. We expect, mistakes. It's very common. So this is just kind of an overall preview of their freshman year and the next 3 years. So we will stay on here for a few more minutes, or if anyone has any questions or they just want to add something to the chat, we will remain on here for a few more minutes. If not, we thank everyone for joining. Let's see. Oh, I don't know how to unmute anyone. Does anyone? Looks like we have a question. I have a question. Oh, about IEPs. Yes. Does anyone know how to unmute people?
I think the only one who can unmute is if you click on your own mic, you can unmute. So it would allow them to unmute themselves. Yep.
So we can either, yes. So it looks like for the IEP, yes, it does follow them to the high school. We will actually be going on February 9th, and we will be meeting with students that have IEPs and their TORs, just kind of talk about their accommodations and what support they need, but their accommodations do follow them to the high school, and they will have annual case conferences just like they did at the middle school. And then usually the TORs at the high school will send kind of a welcome letter with a description and a, just information about them. Does middle school Spanish count towards high school? Yes, it does. Spanish, French, and Japanese 1 do count towards their high school world language credits. Can I email the counselor who has S last names about the general diploma? Yes, that would be Mrs. Williams. How will you put us on classes, like by last name? Do you mean how we place you in classes, like first come, first serve type thing? Is that what you mean, Caroline? And then looks like, yep, coach's homeroom. They have it twice a week. It is a time for them to get extra help from teachers if they were absent, kind of what Ms. Rodman just typed in. Get extra help if they have to make up a test. We have convocations, club call outs. So it's multi-purposeful. And then, so how it works, we put an all student request, or well, the 8th graders will this year, and the computer just builds it. It's not by alphabet or anything. We set the limit to about 30 per class. And then when we meet, based on how many sign up, that determines how many sections of that class we're going to have. So yes, there have been times where a class was full and we had to talk to students and ask them to pick another elective. So that is common, but for the most part, they do get the classes that they pick, but it's just everyone gets thrown in together and then the schedule gets built by that. So not necessarily by grade or by last name. Let's see. Does freshman PE include swimming? And the other counselors remind me, I mean, I know we used to require swimming, and then during COVID and after COVID, PE swimming was kind of removed.
I don't know if it does anymore, but in the past, if you were not comfortable swimming, you did not have to swim. So you would just dress out as you normally would, and they would just have you walk as that was going on. I think there was a form to fill out, but if it does, I don't recall seeing it last year, but if it does, there is an option where you don't have to be in the pool.
Yeah, I don't think they include swimming anymore, or at least they haven't. They may in the future, but if they do, there's always just let us know if there are issues with that. But I don't think they have in the last few years.
Yeah. And then I think. So we'll stay on here a few more minutes, see if anyone else has questions. We don't have the dates just yet. I think summer school PE last year was just 3 weeks?
Yeah, it started like very beginning of June and only went for 3 or 3.5 weeks.
And it was only like 8 to noon or something?
Yes. Yeah, it was last year. It was like June 1st to June 19th or something. So it wasn't very long, and it was only 4 hours a day, although they can't miss, I think, more than maybe 2 days of that, or else they don't get the credit for PE. So you would have to attend pretty much every day. So if there's a family vacation in the middle of that, they would not be able to do PE for the summer.
And I know in last year, since it was our first year, but students that are in marching band or things, athletics that practice over the summer, they were pretty flexible with working with them as long as it was something due to another FCHS activity. So there are ways to make it work, especially if, it is, I know band takes up quite a bit of the summer. So.
Yeah, so for choir, they have them audition and they kind of place them where they think they should be. They're not, if someone wants to be in choir and they sign up for it, they go to the audition, they're not going to cut them from a choir. They'll find a place for them. It just kind of depends on where they place them. Some students may not get in. If they request two, they might not get into it. It might just be one, but they're not going to cut them. The general state requirements, the general diploma, it's got the same. You still have to get 40 credits, but it's just different types of credits. So you don't have to get the 6 math credits. You have to get only 4 of the science credits, and then there's 4 social studies credits as well. So it's the same amount of credits. You still have to get 40 credits to graduate, regardless of what diploma you're on. But it's just different. The credits are in different areas. And that's not usually even something we would look at for a student until maybe their junior year at the earliest for doing that.
Okay, it seems like that kind of answers all the questions. Thanks again so much for your time. We appreciate you. Look for this recording to be sent out soon.